The last time Donald Trump tried to redraw a map, he did it with a Sharpie. This time, he wants to do it for the ballot box. The president is telling Texas to essentially blow up their congressional maps to find as many as 5 seats for Republicans ahead of the midterms.
5, I think we get 5. And there could be some other states we're going to get another 3 or 4 or 5 in addition. Texas would be the biggest one, and
so
that'll be 5.
Are you calling in for a complete redrawing of the congressional map ahead of next year?
Just a very simple redrawing. We pick up 5 seats. We have a couple of other states where we'll pick up seats also.
Democrats are calling the move desperate and unconstitutional.
In this country, public servants should earn the votes of the people that they hope to represent. What Republicans are trying to do in Texas is to have politicians choose their voters and undermine free and fair elections.
So what does it signify that Republicans ahead of the midterms believe that it's going to be so necessary to get an upper hand that they have to actually redraw an entire state's congressional maps in order to get 5 whole seats out of it?
Oh, probably the same thing that it signifies when they did it in Illinois and got a 14-3 delegation for D's. Maryland 7-1, Massachusetts 9-0. We know what happened here in New York, California. Even though they have a commission, we all know what goes on there.
In a mid-cycle specifically, are all of those cases in mid-cycles?
All of these cases are where Democrats use the power they have to give them an advantage.
But just to be clear, because I didn't do the research that you did in the break here, is it that they're changing it after the actual census process where you're supposed to create you're supposed to go through the congressional redistricting process?
Does it matter?
It
yes,
kind of does.
very much.
I think that's the whole point.
So it's okay
that,
for Democrats to lopside these states. 9-0 in Massachusetts.
Here's what I will say about this. I mean, I don't know that, Texas actually has done this before. So you're right that it's not new. But the point is that it's unusual, and they're doing it because the midterms are coming. And it seems to suggest that there's a weakness that they're anticipating and they want to get ahead of it.
It's not just because the midterms are coming. It is because the last census told us that from 2010 to 2020, the 95% of Texas's population increase has been because of Black and brown people in the state. And so when you redraw the congressional maps, you may have more people voting, but they're voting in gerrymandered congressional districts. This is why I get so frustrated when people say, oh, just hang on until midterms, as if that's going to change anything. This is an example of a long storied history in this country of manipulating the electoral process, and we're seeing it play out right before our eyes in Texas. Gerrymandering is not illegal. Racial gerrymandering certainly is, and this is exactly what's happening since SCOTUS obliterated Section 3 and Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act, of which Texas has a long history of violating.
So back in 2003, this is what we're talking about, there was a rare mid-cycle redistricting. The GOP tried to do exactly the same thing. They were able to do it. Went all the way to the Supreme Court. But Democrats tried to leave the state. And so in response to that, Ken Paxton, who is the Texas Attorney General, says that if they ignore their duty to their constituents by breaking quorum, they should be found and arrested no matter where they go. The people of Texas elected them to do a job, not run away and hide like cowards. He's threatening to arrest them if they leave the state.
Yeah, look, gerrymandering is a form of political cheating, right? Let's be clear on what it is. It is political cheating, and both sides do it to some degree. And that should be called out. It should be highlighted. I don't know that it has enough of a political impact to get people to not do it. But the question becomes, okay, if Texas does it, do the Democrats then go into other states where they don't have commissions, as they do in California, which actually could prevent them? I mean, because Gavin Newsom said something about, well, if they do this, we can do this.
Do you mind
too.
if I play what he said? Because he talked about this very thing and talked about the means by which they could do it. So just listen.
I mean, gerrymandering, and let's be fair, we've seen this weaponized by both parties for decades. But these guys, this is a whole nother level of weaponization coming from the right. The ground is shifting from underneath us, and I think we have to wake up to that reality. And we can do a special session. I can call for one today if I chose to. We can then put something on the ballot, and I could call a special election. We can change the Constitution with the consent of the voters, and I think we will win that. I think people understand what's at stake in California.
It's a dangerous road, gerrymandering. We've already gone down it, right? And Tiffany's correct about how the Supreme Court has interpreted it, right? It's basically said it's okay if it's for political reasons, as long as it's not racial. But separating those two can be very difficult, right?
Difficult. Especially in a state like Texas, to Tiffany's point, where the racial demographics are really driving the population growth there.
How much more blood can they squeeze out of the California term?
Apparently,
it's 43 to 9.
There are 9 Republican seats,
again,
and I mean,
they've already done it.
Yeah.
That's my point. Big blue states have already done everything they can possibly do to give them Democrats the biggest structural advantage they can. And now you're the whining about Texas today. It's a political process. It's the way it is.
Listen, well, and it may or may not work. I mean, even Chip Roy, raised some concerns that you might inadvertently make Republicans who were in safe districts and more competitive districts. And that is something that I kind of worry about. But I would also say for Democrats, there's just no guarantee that even if Republicans were successful in Texas with redistricting, that Republicans wouldn't be able to win a compelling number of Latino voters to maintain some of their seats or win new seats.
Isn't that an argument for Republicans to not, play games with the map? I mean, I think you're totally right that in Texas in particular, Republicans have performed
Very well
with Latino voters. So the idea that they want to fiddle with the maps even more to try to gerrymander it in such a way that perhaps, I don't know if this is what they're going to do, but there is an implication that perhaps one way to do it is to dilute the votes of minority voters. I'm not sure that would really help them all that
Well,
much.
all we've heard about in Texas is how they performed really well, Republicans performed really well, and they did in the border counties, right, which are predominantly communities of color.
Yeah.
Great. Take it, but I'm saying great. Take it to the voters in a fair election next year. Why do you have to fiddle with something when you're doing well, right? Why can't you just run on your own record and your own argument? I will tell you, they're opening up a Pandora's box because California can change the Constitution. I'll give you a state closer to here. New Jersey has a very, very, very fair process where constitutionally they're allowed to, each side picks a certain number of people to serve on redistricting. And then you have an outsider break the tie. And the outsider is usually a professor. Democrats in New Jersey, well, no, actually Republicans did very well with congressional redistricting last time around because of that tiebreaker. If you want to change that Constitution tomorrow in New Jersey, the Democratic governor and the Democratic legislature can change that like that and get rid of that.
I think it's important for us to admit what this is. I mean, the president is referring to picking up 5 seats as if they're winning 5 seats, right? It's cheating. It is political cheating. And I'm not saying just Republicans do it. But I think that bipartisan, we should be saying, this is ridiculous. These ideas of redistricting into this extent, right? Occasionally you have to do it based on the census here. But to this extent, either when Democrats do it, and I have called them out for it, and when Republicans do it, it is just cheating. It is a way to try to make these states not be representative of the population that actually exists throughout the state.
And look at North Carolina. Look what's happening there. North Carolina. We would have had Democrats in the majority right now if North Carolina had not gerrymandered the hell out of their map.